Eddie, do you think Leeds is the best place you can want your shows?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been to some great cities. Belfast is great. Glasgow was great. Hull is great, but it's on another level here, you know. It's just so enjoyable. It's always enjoyable to fill an arena, but it's really enjoyable to fill it with, like I said, passion more than anything. When it means something, and it's like it's the night out. You know, we do a lot of stuff with the darts. I mean, we bring the darts here. We did 11,000. But it's not just about the boxing, it's about the experience of night out, even the music. And we get a lot of criticism for like from hardcore boxing fans going, I mean, what was that when you played 10 minutes of music? I mean, what was that? It was like people enjoying themselves. They're jumping up and down, they're singing, they're having a drink. It's a night out. It's not just a night of boxing. And I think that's what we're trying to do. Like I said, I think everybody that come loved it, and they all want to be back. You know, it was. You don't get atmospheres like that, you know, and when you do sample it, and the best thing, it's important for me for the people in the arena to enjoy themselves, but it's more important as well for Sky Sports to transcend that atmosphere across to the viewers at home, because that's hundreds of thousands rather than 10,000. Yeah. And that's the most impressive thing. When you turn on the TV at home and you watch what's going on in that arena, you don't turn the channel over. You just sit there and you go, this is mental. Yeah. And you go, I want to go to that next time. Look at this, what are they doing? They're nuts. Yeah. But the good news is they've also got a kid who can really fight. Yeah. You know, if we had someone that was like, you know, be thinking, God, how are we going to keep him going? How are we going to keep this up? Yeah. We're not. We're slowly progressing. That was a perfect opponent tonight. Next one will be a little bit stronger. I think we need, you know, a solid name for the next one. We need someone who's operated at world level. Someone that's going to just broaden the exposure a little bit nationally and internationally. That people say, well, that's a tough fight for Josh Warrington. We know him, he's operated at world level. And then we go on, and next summer he'll be ready for a world title. After
seeing the success of Josh, you're looking at other Leeds fighters, because there's a great talent pool in Leeds, people like Damon Jones, Stephen Middle. Has it drawn your attention as a promoter to other Leeds fighters?
Yeah, it has to, because they've got to come along with us. You know, we've got such a big stable, it's great to bring them here. I mean, because of the scheduling it wasn't possible, I'd still love to bring Anthony Joshua to the arena. I think he'd enjoy it, I think so would the fans, but we're desperate for Leeds fighters to come along on the ride, because when he's fighting for world titles, we need Leeds fighters to be challenging for British, Commonwealth, European, and he, I think, can start growing boxing in the community, in the city, from grassroots level as well. I won't bore you, but we're launching something soon, Matchroom Boxing Foundation, investing in grassroots all over the country, and Josh will be doing a lot of investing for us in where he chooses in Leeds, and it's important because he can be a role model for those people, and I think the grassroots community clubs can grow as well through Josh. That's when people grow into fighters when he's retired. But it's nice to create a legacy and know that actually he's doing something to grow the sport in the city at grassroots as well.
Yeah, 40,000, I think it's definitely possible.
100%. If you can do 10,000, no disrespect to Dennis Tuberon, he's a great fighter, he's a great opponent. So he's from the Philippines, no one's ever heard of him. Yeah. You get a world title fight at Ellen Road, 40,000 minimum, in a city like this, everyone will be there. And you know, that's the difference. There's not many places you can do that, and really I feel like we're only getting started. I mean, we mustn't get carried away. Yeah, he's won English, Commonwealth, British, European, WBC International World Title Eliminator. Yeah. We know exactly the path we're knowing. He will dictate how fast or slow we go, and we'll listen to the instructions of the trainers and the team. I think everybody's on the same page. We know exactly the pace we've got to go at. There's no rush, you know, but we don't want to go too slow either. I think at the moment the progression's perfect.
I think just to add there, you're talking about other Leeds fighters. There's 2 or 3 fighters in mind there that are going to be coming through in the next few months. I need to speak to Eddie and Steve about. There are more Leeds fighters coming through. Absolute quality fighters.
Like who?
I want to discuss it with Eddie and Steve first, to be honest with you, because I don't want to just spring it here. Yeah. I really needed to get this one out there and then sit down with Eddie, speak to Steve.
Yeah. There's some good amateurs too.
Good quality amateur fighters that are coming through. There's a kid there on GB, there's 2 kids on GB actually that we're going around, and we'll be discussing those. So yeah, there's more to come, and hopefully we can build on this and keep things going, you know. I think people of Leeds as well, just to add, I don't think it's just football fans. I think people, whatever you put on in Leeds, they're absolutely sportsmen. I think rugby, you know, you see my darts there, you even go to cricket, everywhere you go, they're absolutely sportsmen, they're just sports fanatics. I think Catherine and follow me on that, you know. So I don't think it's just football fans, but who cares? They all come, they have a good carry on, a real good night. When's Leeds ever seen anything like this away from Ellen Road? You know, or let's say Leeds Rhinos there. We haven't, it can only be good, can't it?
I'd say just to add to that a little bit more, Leeds boxing, you know, it's putting Leeds boxing on map, and it's giving other Leeds fighters, it'll give them opportunity to come on and get on the card, and you know, say, you know, he's done it, he's on the lad from the state, you know, he's filling out arenas, so it'll give them ambition and whatnot to do it. And going back to the fans, like I say, you get a lot of critics on social media, maybe a bit jealous, maybe just don't like it for whatever reason, but I go back to it, how do you define what just a boxing fan is, you know, just because, you know, they go to football as well, does that mean they can't like boxing? You know, do you think 80,000 genuine boxing fans are just down at Wembley for Fracture and Groves too? Do you know what I mean? It's, and I think it's because it's a local lad, you know. This is not to say that they don't sit at home and watch boxing and they just wait for someone local who can get behind, come and support, and you know, call it one of their own. So
also, you're exciting. You're exciting to watch. Your style, no, it is. It is. But you're exciting. Your style is exciting. You've never been in a bad fight.
No, yeah.
Since we've been, even when you box that kid in Berlin.
I get
never
excited,
been in a bad fight.
to be honest.
do you?
Yeah.
Good to
I think so. No result.
I think they come out to see you, to be fair. I think they come out to see you.
I think they do, to be honest. A lot of bad-looking fellas that do,
to be fair. Yeah.
But no, I think we're doing things right. We've changed things around a little bit. Same additions there to the same Mark Early, strength and conditioning man, Nick Manners, and everything really. I mean, training in these long camps, they all go smooth. You know, the people doing a little bit now, and it's not pressure on me, and it's that makes it a lot easier, to be honest. And like I say, I think it's only going to get better.
Josh, can I just ask what will be the plans now for the next week or 2 weeks? You obviously had your house move and you talked about the Wi-Fi being a bit dicky. You can get that sorted out first and foremost. And will it be going back to the day job at all? I mean, you talked about, you know, keeping your eye in there as well. I mean, what will be the plan over the next sort of 3-4 weeks for you?
Might treat Mrs. take it over to Scarborough, you know what I mean? Stick a rocket to
We'll spoil it up.
Like I said, we've got a payday, so you know, take a little B&B instead of 10. But you know, just
camping again in Farley, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's thrifty.
What did I do? Camping by the value, so.
Yeah, just use that time off.
Yeah.
I've been training since
I've been paid for the last one, yeah.
a couple of weeks before Christmas. You know, I've had Berlin, and even though the fight's not always really taxing, it's the training and the promoting and the ticket selling and whatnot what takes it out of you more than anything. So probably just have a little rest, recharge your batteries and get back into the gym. May go back to work, do a day or two, keep me iron, keep me grounded, and yeah, just go from there.
What's that pig just running?
And Eddie, can I just ask you, obviously we did a bit of a build up this week to the atmosphere in Leeds and stuff, and obviously this fight's gone now, obviously there'll be the ones coming up, but I mean, are you going to miss it yourself on a personal note?
Yeah, I mean, boxing's really good at the moment. I mean, we had 7,500 in Newcastle last week, we had 9,000 in Sheffield the week before for Kell Brook. You know, we had nearly 10,000 in tonight. Boxing's good, but that, you know, we always look forward to coming in, and I think already looking at dates in early September to return here. I don't think we should look to come here every 2 or 3 months. Got to give people a little bit of a break, but you know, we come back with the right fight in September, and you know, we'll make sure that there's not one ticket left, and then he can have Christmas. But I think, like I said, he's been training. You know, pretty much. We were originally due to come here in February, then we ended up going to Berlin and having 8 rounds out there, which was a good experience as well. And you know, he's been training a lot. I'd like to see him have a couple of weeks on holiday now, and just take a little bit of a break from the gym. You know, he's been in the gym virtually non-stop, and like he says with the ticket selling, you know, it's quite unusual to have someone that sells that many tickets who actually goes out and sells them personally. You know, I mean, he gave me a box the other day with the ticket money in. It was bigger than his table. You know what I mean? And he's out grafting, they're all out grafting. But that's what it's all about. It's, you know, it's a funny setup, but he won't do that forever. You know,
he won't do that again. Security-wise, he won't do that again. He'll have a PO box and he'll go straight to your account. So anybody looking from the outside, they haven't got that money. All right.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, it's quite unusual. You know, I remember Sean saying, he said, you know, I'm going to get for Christmas. I said, what's that? He said, one of them credit card machines. He said,
Card.
you know, when I go up to the houses and they said, I have to pay you tomorrow, I've only got my card on me. I said, don't worry, I've got one of them.
Yeah, we do a graft.
But they're grafters, and that transcends from selling tickets to in the gym. The mentality is the same. You know, and actually that mentality is across the team, whether it's Steve or it's us. We're all working hard, we're working together, and you know, you can't knock when you got that. If we walked out tonight and there was 1,400 people in there, it's a bit quiet, and you know, you're still chasing a dream. But when you got that support, there's so many things you can do. You know, you don't have to travel abroad for world title shots. You know, you can bring fighters over here you want. You can box as often as you want. But like I said, our job as well is, from a Sky Sports perspective, not just to make him big in Leeds, but to make him big across the country. But that happens by viewers tuning in tonight and saying, wow, you know, getting him active, and you know, and having that. I think he needs soon that sort of marquee name. It doesn't have to be a top 2 or 3 in the world, it could be a top 10, but a name that people go, oh, blimey. You know, because I think after tonight, when he's had his rest, he can come back in that type of fight, and I think, you know, that's planned for September.
Definitely. And was it a cheaper night from your perspective? I know over in Berlin you had to buy a load of the Leeds fans' drinks, didn't you? But
well, it's only early.
So they're all waiting for it. They're all waiting for it.
Do you know what? In Berlin shocked me as well. You know, like he sold like 400 tickets. That's all he got. It was an 8 rounder.
Yeah.
You know, but it was mad. I mean, like, you know, it was, again, that was an 8 rounder, and tonight. But you know, the most important thing as a promoter is that people leave and go, you know, we keep the ticket prices nice and low here, £30 and £40 for those seats. It's not a bad seat in the house. You know, and that's important as well, because we've got to make them accessible to everybody. So, you know, that's the plan moving forward. We're not getting greedy. You know, we want to put good fights on. You know, we had the British title fight fall out tonight, it was disappointing. We want to bring Joshua back here, Luke Campbell, grow the Leeds guys, give everyone value for money. But he always gives value for money. I've never seen him in a bad fight. Even that 8 rounder in Berlin was entertaining. Now, if you think about the fights he's been in here, David Daly, you know, Lindsay fight was a very entertaining fight. Even the Rendell Monroe fight, the Samir Mamoun fight, they've all been great fights because of his style. He was relentless. After 6 rounds tonight, one was a 2-minute round, one was a 4-minute round. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk out against the board, but like, how can you do that? You've got one job. What's that Twitter for? You've got one job. Yeah. One job to do, and that's to look at your clock. And when it hits 3 minutes, you ring the bell. So at what point do you go,
To be fair,
blimey, how long have I gone over it? It's 4 minutes. Or do you go, is that 2 or 3? I'm not sure, but I'll ring it in. I mean, it's terrible. You know, I mean, it's one for another day. But maybe he was just so involved in the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, listen to the songs,
We're avoiding beer.
Fast track to only 5 fights ago, I was just fighting for a major first title in Commonwealth, and then all of a sudden we're knocking on the door of world title winners and big world title fights. So we've come very far in a short space of time. So, you know, it's all learning, it's all experience, but you know, I'm ready to take these challenges whenever Steve, Dad, Eddie, Nick can bring them.
Good stuff.
All right, guys, thanks as always.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. Tough fighter, you know, I hit him with some cracking shots a couple of times before we going to get out of there. I'd probably watch it back, but I don't think it was my best performance. Could have picked my shots a little bit better, but you know, it's all learning, and you know, another 12 rounds under the belt.
Did you start to feel this kid is never going to go down?
I was getting a bit bored towards the end now. Come on, lad. I thought we had, you know, hit him with some good shots, and I was thinking, you know, what's going to take him to get him out of here, but no, it was tough, and I didn't want to get too silly, you know, try and keep weird about me, and didn't want to get caught about daft, so just stuck to the boxing towards the end.
You seem to do a lot of dancing around as well. You kind of back off quite a lot, get onto the ropes. You were having to kind of go after it, if you like. Yeah, it was a bit awkward. It was a bit of a tricky fighter, you know. Southpaw stance, you always get a bit awkwardness with southpaw fighters, but no, I think we did what we had to do and got it clearly hard. You'd said part of your preparations that you'd looked at various options as to how he might come at you. Did he do what you were expecting?
Yeah, there were a couple of little bits of movement and ways he was slipping to the side and stuff like that, but you know, I'll probably get a bollocking off my dad for tomorrow because I could have made it a little bit easier for myself, but you know,
where's he got that language from?
Like I say, you know, did what we had to do and got the win.
Did you always feel quite confident though, the further on it went, that you'd got him at least on points?
Yeah, like I say, I felt comfortable in there, you know. I mean, towards the end, I think he was just trying a lot of different things. I think from probably about 5th round onwards, I felt comfortable. I could hear everyone at ringside shouting body, and you know, try to pick shots a little bit more, but you know, I got carried away with the crowd and having Vinny there and stuff. But just did what I had to do to get the win.
We have to talk about the crowd. I've never heard anything like that when you walked out at the arena tonight. What was it like for you?
Listen, the Leeds people, they're not just best fans in the country, they're best fans in the world, and then that were another level. The noise were phenomenal, it was deafening, and you don't see that in boxing. And you know, with them fans behind me, I'll go on way and I'll win a world title.
Did it surprise you in a way? Because you've seen them in action before, but this was just next level of noise.
I expected it, you know. Last time we had around 5,500 there, and this time we would double that. So it would, you know, you're going to get double the noise, and it was just somewhat stay with for the rest of my life. That, you know, it was unbelievable, that little ring walk and getting in there. I just tried to take it all in and stay focused, but you know, special memories.
And then they carried it on right throughout the fight. How aware are you of what's going on around you when you're in the ring like that?
Sometimes you block it out, but you know, every time I landed a punch, you know, they all went up, and the all went up, and that's when boxing went out window and I started going at them Gibson style. So, but yeah, it's good to have that bit of support behind me, and I thank everyone for coming out and supporting me.
And now it's all about what next. Obviously, your stock continues to rise higher and higher up the WBC rankings. So, what's the next step?
I've got a mandatory on European title. Probably maybe look at defending that. I've got a list of people at domestic level who want to beat me up, and I'm chasing Lee Selby as well. So you know, we've got loads of options. We can go down. Probably going to have a couple of weeks off, get a few fishy chips down there, and then look to get out after summertime, I think.
And by the sounds of what Mr. Selby's had to say, he fancies coming to Leeds and silencing the crowd. What do you make of that?
I'd love him to come up. You know, I wish him all the best for 30th. You know, I think he can go on and win a world title, but you know, I think I've got what it takes to beat him. So you know, let him get his world title, maybe get a defence, and then let's get it on. And
the arena's been a very good home to you, but ultimately a fight at Elland Road might be on the cards. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's third time here, and we're almost at capacity tonight. You know, I think after this, you know, we'll sell it out next time, and then, like I say, just build on and get that get Elland Road filled up. Well, congratulations from BBC Radio Leeds. We're all very, very proud of you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Josh, even from the first bell, you were really sitting down on your punches and looking for every punch to be a hurtful punch. Was that part of the game plan, or was that just the adrenaline and the crowd right behind you from the word go?
I think it was a little bit. I think it was a little bit of both. Hard not to get carried away when you've got everyone screaming, and every time you land a punch, you know, they expect blood and they expect a knockout, and you know, I want to make it entertaining, but at the same time I've got to you know, put my chalk performance on. I've got to pick my shots and sticks in my boxing. A couple of times I thought I had him hurt, and I thought one more punch would do it, but he just seemed to be there. And every time I thought, you know, it's going to be over, or he's not going to come back. He threw something back and kept himself in there, so you know, credit to him. But yeah, there were a few things that worked in there, a few things when I'll go back to the gym and work on it a little bit more.
Particularly in the 5th round, you had him and you sagged back on the ropes, but like you say, you bounced back. Was there a point in the fight where you thought, I'm going to have to settle for points here?
No, I thought I could still hurt him at any one point with a punch. A couple of times I just hit him with right hands, and he was going back to the ropes. A couple of times I hit him to the body, and you know, it was wincing and making plenty of noise. And sometimes there were some points in the fight it looked like he just didn't want to be in there. But like I say, it was tough, and he managed to survive. And I didn't want to get carried away, get caught with silly. Just wanted to get the win and move forward.
In your last couple of bouts, you've had knockout wins, but 12 rounds under your belt. In some respects, that'll stand you in good stock for the future. Yeah, I thought I'd give fans the money's worth this time. I've turned into a bit of a knockout artist, you know what I mean? And last couple of fights, getting all stoppages under my belt. So, no, it's good to get the experience under my belt. It's good to get the 12 rounds under my belt, and you know, like I say, move on from here. As we've said, Lee Selby's fighting at the O2 on the 30th of May. Eddie, if I can just turn to you, how does that set things up further down the line if Lee comes through that unscathed? Yeah, it's an obvious fight for next summer. I think tonight was about Josh gaining some experience. You know, there's no value in going over and just knocking over weaker opponents. You're never going to learn, you're never going to progress. And Tubiaron found something from the 3rd round that
I didn't think he was going to have. I thought after 2 rounds this was going to be an early night, but I'm glad it wasn't. You know, he made a few quid tonight, so I'm glad he's got a few bruises on him. You know, but the Selby fight, the big domestic fights are by far the biggest earners out there for all fighters, and Lee Selby knows that. Josh Warrington knows that, and it's, you know, it's an Ellen Road filler. But Lee Selby's got to win the world title on May the 30th, and I think Josh get back after the summer, a couple more fights, you know, and then it's an obvious fight for next summer. But a lot of things have got to happen first. But Josh will fight for the world title, whether it's Lee Selby or not. You know, he's very, very lucky to have this kind of support. You can bring over big names, you can bring over world champions. Very tough division. You know, Gary Russell, Lomachenko, Nicholas Walters, Gradovic or Selby. I mean, the champions are fantastic. But you know, I thought it was a great night for him, and the atmosphere was fantastic. But in terms of learning and development, I think that was absolutely perfect.
And we know what Josh is doing in the ring, but in terms of filling out 10,000 arenas at this stage of his career, just gives a bit of context in terms of that achievement as well.
It's freakish, really. You know, I mean, look, we've got Kell Brook, Carl Froch, you know, Anthony Joshua, and you know, he's potentially selling more than all of them, you know, for certain fights. And at this stage in their career, he's selling 5 times more than they were. So we've got to continue to grow. We've got to continue. He's doing everything right out the ring. He's a great ambassador for Leeds. He's a role model. You know, that's important as well. The crowd were great tonight. You know, we had a beach ball in the ring. Never seen that before. That was great.
Don't say that.
But listen, generally being serious.
Yeah. Don't do that. Rugby balls, everything next time.
Being serious, you know, that was a bit silly. But there you go. Other than that, you know, it wasn't. And people talk about, you know, someone tweeted me today and said, oh, all it is football fans. It's like, there's not that many boxing fans in Leeds. So unfortunately, or fortunately, you're going to have to bring other people in. And hopefully everyone that came tonight loved it. I think they would have done.
You can't be a football and boxing fan as well.
Of course, that's the thing. They're not boxing fans, they're football fans, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, do you not think boxing fans watch football as well? I mean, but to grow a fan base, you're going to have to bring in people who probably do have a season ticket at Ellen Road. And the affiliation with a football club is actually what's built his support. So we have to embrace it, not turn it away. And, you know, he's a big Leeds United man, and, you know, the dream is to box at Ellen Road. And we, like I said, we probably had a couple of hundred to go. We had 2 little side blocks which we didn't open tonight. We'll fill them next time. And then after that, you know, we're starting to struggle a little bit, but it's a great arena. Great arena.
And a new member of the team tonight as well, Josh Vinnie Jones. Tell us how that came about.
I was just watching Coronation Street one night, and I thought, you know what, fancy a change. And I phoned him up, Vinnie, what you up to on 11th? And he just popped over, so I just, you know, said thank you to Aidan Evans who sorted him out coming over. It was a pleasure having him down there. I think it added that little bit of spice to get the crowd going a little bit more, and it was good, like I said, to have him walk out with us.
He loved it. He was sitting next to me. He was screaming throughout.
And that's why I got a bit carried away.
I don't think he really knew exactly the ins and outs of boxing when he said to me, "Where's this bloke from?" I said, "Philippines." He went, "Did he fly over then for this one?" He was like, "Oh right, okay."
It's just lives down there, I was learning.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any other questions, guys?
Josh, you've been in with some quality operators such as Redland Monroe, but in terms of toughness, is that the best you've been so far?
I think so. A little bit of mixture of both things. I mean, I'm not taking no credit away from, because like I say, I have some very good shots, and you know, I'll probably get slagged off on social media of, you know, no power in Warrington, and I should have got him out there, but tough fighter, hit him with some, like I say, some good shots. And maybe if I'd have stuck, listened to what my dad said a little bit more, and what Nick said, I might have been able to pick shots a little bit more, but you know, it's all experience, it's all learning, and good to, like I say, get 12 rounds under my belt again.
Was he the first fight you fought with tracksuit bottoms on as well?
I'm going to ask him where he got them from. They weren't so bad, were they?
The socks left a bit to be desired.
Tough man. And again, thinking, really echoing what Ellie said there. I think a brilliant learning fight. From my point of view, I think once or twice there you just lost your shape, didn't you? Lost your form a little bit. I don't know whether again it were adrenaline rush from the crowd. But that's something that we're going to have to learn to deal with, you know, keeping your shape, keeping your form, and listening to what you're being asked to do, really. But You know, we can pick away all night, can't we? You know, you're not going to go out there without getting wet, so to say, and then boxing's boxing. You're not going to go in there and walk out with mats or without your own fight having a little bit of success. But yeah, good learning fight. And in a way, I don't think 12 rounds did him any harm. Quality opposition, world rank fighter. And it's been a good night. No crowd trouble, everybody behind us. Fantastic crowd. You know, I think it's one of them things you could do regularly. You know, you never get bored of that, would you? It's absolutely super.
Not that it's in question, but your stamina and his work rate, absolutely bang on. Because even in the last round, you're still coming at him throwing punches. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I say, once or twice, just lost his form, lost his focus a bit. I mean, I'm not going to knock him so much for that. I mean, in an arena like that, with a crowd like that behind you, how can you stay 100% focused on? You're not jogging them. But that's what we're going to learn to do, you know what I mean? We're going to learn to do that. And then we're, you know, smashing team here. Promotion-wise, managerial-wise, training-wise, absolutely superb. And I think all we can do is go on from here, you know. And hopefully them big fights are looming.
Josh, obviously Lee was here tonight and we all know what sort of everyone's driving towards this sort of super fight. I grabbed a word with him after the fight and I said, you know, obviously you've now experienced sort of how raucous the Leeds fans can be. If you're ×4 in Ellen Road, would you fancy that challenge? And he said, I'd love to silence the crowd. What's your kind of response?
Yeah, well,
is that even possible?
I've seen him. I've seen him on a couple of interviews saying that he'd come to Leeds and give me a good hiding. So I look forward to that. You know, I've been to a full Ellen Road before. You know, we've been in big Champions League games, big cup games, and it's deafening. And I tell you what, you know, it's better on his day if he wants to come to Ellen Road and try silence me, because I think if this really gets me up, that'll be another level. You know, I think that'll be a cracking fight between us two. But like I say, it's got to take one fight at a time. He's got to go on and win that world title, and hopefully we can get it on line.
I think fighters want to enjoy experiencing that, even the away fighters. I mean, that Dennis Tribune came through the doors and he went, he couldn't believe it, and I thought, oh, don't freeze, whatever you do, you know. And he stood up there and he sort of, you know, and he was like, the look on his face, he was over the moon. He couldn't believe it. He got in the ring, you know, he was dancing to the music. And the same for Lee Selby, because Selby's a big name, you know, he's got support in Cardiff, but we don't see that.
Yeah.
So to go to Ellen Road in front of 40,000, home or away fighter, I think they'd relish it, you know, and especially Selby, because he's got a bit about him, he's got a little bit of swag, and he'd be up for that. I think a lot of people would. I don't think, you know, you can't not embrace that atmosphere. It's not, I don't see it as hostile, you know. The beers flying around, but it's, you know, it's passionate, but it's not, it doesn't feel like it's horrible, you know, it's not, again, going back to that, people saying it's football, it's not, it's, you know, it's just passion. You see people with their shirts off, it means something to them, rather than sitting there clapping, going, go on son, the looks on their faces, it's desperation for Josh Ryan to succeed. And it's,
half of them are my cousins and second cousins.
Well done, Shawnee.
My cousins. Yeah, like just I think they enjoy it. You know, it's Leeds like to get down one of their own. Like I've said before, I'm just a council estate kid, and like say, you know, seeing me, see the work I put in. Leeds United always like doing so well, and you know, we get behind the zone, and I think successful city is a good thing, and everyone's jumped on the buzz, and it's got to just look a bit like Ricky Hart and how we wore Manchester, and you know, I think we're doing something similar with Leeds.
Josh, there's a lot of talk of football fans out there. I know there's a lot of rugby fans as well who like to get behind you. I know one or two players who are really impressed with where you prepare for your game. How well did tonight prepare you for the next challenge?
I mean, like I say, that experience more than anything. You know, going at 12 rounds, going with a bit of pace, and just I can take so much from that fight. You know, I can learn so much from that. Maybe getting a bit carried away and you know, windmilling my shots a little bit, but it's all experience at the end of the day. You've got to learn to, you know, you can spar and you can do all your training in the gym, but doing it in front of 10,000 people is a different kettle of fish. So you know, it's good experience, and we'll go back to the gym after this and hope to improve this game for the next one.
Josh, did you expect it to go full distance?
No, I thought a couple of times I ate him in there and, come on Dennis, just take an ear somewhere. Referee, we don't have a word, but a couple of times he went to the body and he was wincing, a couple of times he stepped back and he looked like, I think he even thought, come on ref, get us out of here, I want to go home, but tough fella, you know, he can't blame him for his heart, he carried on battling even when they were on ropes and he was taking a bit, he just managed to throw